everyone. Welcome to our Emerging HR Tech demo session. And this is about mello. Thank you for your patience as we sort out technical difficulties. I want to give a welcome to everybody who's here with us today. And I'll give you a quick bio on CG. So meet CG, the co-founder and CEO of mello. Their goal is to help remote first around the world companies prevent burnout before it happens. Now, CG has spent the last 3 years at mello, but before mello, CG co-founded a social enterprise, Ample Labs, to help cities prevent homelessness. And in CG's spare time, you'll find them taking pictures that are color coordinated. And by that, I mean there's a background or a backdrop that's just all uniform. I'll say all yellow, and CG just happens to wear all yellow. That's a happy coincidence, and that's where the magic happens. So with that, I'll let CG take over an introduction about mello, and if you have any questions or comments, please pop them into the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Huddle. I was just looking at the audience here. I think I know half of the people here. Hi, James and Rich from Candidly, Such a Small World, and hello to two others. We have Trisha and Donna. Sorry, just Huddle. I think the bio is a little bit wrong. We've been working on mello for about 5 months now. Spent the last 3 years building another tech company in which we were building enterprise SaaS software to help cities prevent homelessness in North America. So prior to that, I worked for about 3 years at tech companies out of Canada. I'm now based in, or mello is now based in San Francisco. So we're a US based company. Worked for Ecobee, and before that, a VC-backed retail SaaS company called Tulip. So, spent quite some time building software. And so today I'm gonna talk a little bit about mello. So I know that this is sort of the quote unquote tech demo. However, we're actually working on the next version of mello, which is a lot more exciting and I think a lot more relevant to folks here. Again, looking at you, small crowd, but I think it's a lot more relevant because I think it's probably more valuable to show you folks what it is that we're working towards. Our existing product is on our website. So if you folks go to itsmello.co, so C-O, not C-O-M, you can actually, it's self-serve, you can actually try our existing product. It's still in beta for 21 days completely for free. If your company uses Slack, it takes less than a minute to set up. And so the product that we have today is okay, but really it's sort of this next version, or what we're calling the V1, that we're extremely excited about. So and then maybe just 2 more anecdotes before I dive in. So there won't be a technical demo first, and the second is, why did we start mello? So we're in this thing called the pandemic, and it's 2021, and here in San Francisco, things have been a little bit more lifted. However, we've all been working remotely for what feels like forever, but I think it's coming on 2 years. And at our last company, so we were not for profit. We had a team that was growing pretty rapidly and getting pretty large, and we found ourselves to be burnt out right in the midst of the pandemic. We did have benefits for employees, and we actually found that employees weren't taking advantage of them. And so this problem of burnout actually stemmed from ourselves. So as the CEO, I had to look for other solutions. So went out to the market, or Google, I should say, and typed in burnout solutions for employees. And not to my surprise, I found a bunch of articles. There just wasn't a solution. And I think, as we're in software, we're product-oriented people. I have a background in UX. We care a lot about sort of that human-centered design, or what is a tool that exists that I can actually use for my team who are humans, who are struggling a lot. We've had deaths in the family, people have had COVID, and we just couldn't find anything. And there was something inside of us that said, you know what? And at the same time, we were working with partners. Some of our partners were Google, Cisco, Twitter. We did a lot of employee engagement with them, and we found out that these companies were struggling with the same thing. Not only that, we also learned that these companies actually doubled their employee benefits spend, particularly around mental health, EAPs, I'm sure you could imagine. And similarly to us, they also didn't see an uptick. And so we said, hey, here's an opportunity to actually build something that we ourselves are struggling with, but seems like everybody is struggling. Do we have enough conviction to pivot from this thing that we're currently working on, which is, homelessness is not a small feat, to tackle this? And we got into something in us said yes, and so boom, there we are. So like I said, Mello is a startup. We are 5 months old. We just finished Y Combinator. And so, yeah, it's an early stage product. Here on our team, again, this is a very small crowd. We shoot very straight. We're very direct. The thing that I love the most, and I get my team to tell me this all the time, is I love feedback. If you like something, tell us. If you hate something, tell us, because that's kind of the only way we get better and we build better products. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen and take you folks through Mello. And Hadong, just stop me when I'm at time. I should be good. Okay. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Can somebody give me a signal or an audio, yes or no? Somebody? Is there? Yes, okay, Donna, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. So, Mello, yeah, I mean, why are we called Mello? We like to stay mellow. The matching backgrounds is very, very real. As of late, we started a TikTok account, and when we come into meetings, we actually, as employees or as the founding team, there's like 5 of us, we try to match the background to our outfits. So hence black. Cool. Okay, so our motto is, well, I mean, we kind of have an updated motto. So now it's bringing well-being into every team's workflow. The reason we focus on teams is because we actually learned, in the last sort of 3.5, 4 months, is that people are much more motivated by extrinsic motivators than intrinsic. So, ICG obviously want to get better. I want to have better mental health. I want to be healthier physically so that I can do a good job of running a company. I can take care of my employees, my partners, my investors, so on and so forth. And yes, although that is motivating, it's not as motivating as, for instance, if I tell my co-founder, hey, I'm going to do something and I don't do it, the thought of sort of disappointing him actually drives me to do that thing more. And so the reason I bring that up is because we found that when we first in beta began to build Mello just for the individual. So, think about it like, hey, Jeff, you check in with Mello. Mello gives you a bunch of questions. You answer the questions. You essentially get a burnout score, right? So we can actually objectively measure how burnt out you are empirically with science. It's called a burnout index, and we place you into a zone so you know where you're at. And then we say, hey, Jeff, let's say you're in the not so mellow zone. So you're kind of burnt out. And so your goal is to get into the mellow zone. And here are a bunch of things that you should do this week so that you can move your score. And let's use myself as an example. I almost never do those things. So what we're trying to work towards is instead of Mello saying, hey, CG, why don't you do X, Y, and Z? Mello is going to be a facilitator and have me start a conversation with my 2 co-founders and go, hey, Derek and Jordy, I am currently burnt out because of X, Y, and Z. And here are Mello's suggestions for me for next week. So you're my accountability partners. So for next week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And the thing about building this company is that we're kind of building Mello for ourselves, but the other thing we're big believers in is that before we ship anything to our customers, we always like to use the features and test it ourselves to know whether or not it actually works. Because if you're a customer of ours and sure, we can ship a new feature, you can try it, you can kind of be our guinea pigs, but if we tried it internally and it doesn't work, we know it's not going to work. So anyways, so that's why that was a very long story as to why we focus on teams. Okay. The problem, I don't think I really need to talk about it. I think that's why folks are here. Yeah, so what can Mello do? So a couple of things. The first is that we create personal and team goals to improve well-being and prevent burnout. So I, gave you folks some examples. So within Mello, you actually get your own profile / dashboard. So let's say my name is Tim. I'm a product designer. Think about Starbucks, your Starbucks app. So there's a point system in which the more you work on your personal well-being, the more points you can collect. And we know that specifically with knowledge workers who work in tech, people are rather competitive. So there's a really good incentive. You're able to declare the goals that you want to work on, right? People may want to work on different types of goals. So for instance, for me personally right now, I'm focusing a lot on physical health. That's something that I really struggled with during the pandemic. So I can set these goals, and then depending on what goals, we also provide educational resources. So we will then reward employees with points and prizes for completing well-being goals, competitions, so on and so forth. Yeah, and it really is about, now that most companies have transitioned into either fully remote or hybrid, it's about making it fun, right? Our company, we probably work from home 3 to 4 days out of the week, and one day we'll go to a WeWork or something like that. And we have employees. I'm in San Francisco. We have employees in Chicago, Toronto, Seoul, Korea. We're completely remote, and so the more we can have our virtual times together to be fun and engaging, that kind of intrinsically increases well-being. Yeah, and I think the second part is, incorporating well-being into your workflow. I mean, one insight we found when we interviewed about 200 knowledge workers was that people really like to Slack. People spent a lot of time on Slack, and when we dug into the numbers, we found out that 80% of tech SMBs are on Slack. The average Slack user spends about 4 hours a day on Slack. And the number one reason, when we dug deeper into interviewing employees, we heard things like, hey, I know that my company has BetterUp. I know my company recently adopted a Modern Health or an Inkblot, but I don't go to it because it's an outside platform. There's credentials. It takes a long time for me to figure it out. And so Mello shows up directly into your employees' workflow. We're on Slack right now. The goal is to be on Teams, Google, Discord. So we do have a roadmap. And yeah, so we're incorporating it into your employees' well-being. We create a space for you to talk about the highlights or lowlights of their week. So kind of like, what was your rose, thorn, and bud? And we find that even for ourselves, when you introduce reflection, people start to. There's a saying that goes, "You can't manage what you don't measure." So the mellow score, the zone, is a qualitative measure. The rose, thorn, or bud is, sorry, quantitative measure. The rose, thorn, or bud is the qualitative measure. So now an employee gets a burnout score, they get placed in a zone, and they get a bunch of qualitative data about their last week to figure out what's worked and what hasn't, so that next week they can improve. So think about it like a sprint, right? We're always, we have 1 week sprints for engineering, design, marketing, sales, fundraising, hiring. Now we have sprints for well-being. Yeah, set goals, etc., etc. Yeah, and then there are, some other exciting things like a leadership um, dashboard, and also for HR folks in the room. So you're like, hey, this sounds really fun. What about the data? Or for my managers, can they see who's doing well, who's not doing well? And so Mello also comes with a dashboard, so you can get a pulse not only on who, but why are they experiencing burnout, right? Again, sometimes it may be harder to have a face-to-face conversation, or let's say you're, a rapidly growing company, you're about to double or triple in a matter of months. It's impossible for you, even as HR, to have one-on-ones with people. And so Mello kind of takes that work out of you. You can get a bunch of insights. You'll get weekly summaries. Yeah, and yes. Yes. Okay. The mellow ROI ultimately is to increase retention, right? We are in, I guess it's coined the Great Resignation. People are resigning left, right, and center. 1 out of 5 employees who's a knowledge worker have actually resigned in the last 6 months or plan to do so. So as a startup, we are also hiring. There's huge competition for talent, whether you're small or big. So ultimately, the business value here is retention. And then there's, NPS, happiness, as well as engagement. Oops, sorry, I went back a slide. Yeah, so for this event specifically, because Jeff here is actually one of our advisors, we would like to offer everybody here in the audience, instead of 21 days, which is what we offer on our website. We're happy to give you Mello for 31 days. We are also actually currently, so we do have some of this next version built out. We're actually looking for HR managers to do feedback sessions with. So these are 30-minute sessions, which will go into a lot more detail of the functionality and the features. One of the things that we actually really pride ourselves in is that when we were building out beta, we actually co-designed a lot of the features, the HR dashboard, the employee check-in, the action center, the resources. And so, again, we know that the best products or the best software are typically built with their users in mind or literally with their users. What are people saying? Here's some quotes. That's pretty much it. Oh, we also have a booth. Aritha's manning the booth, so she can answer any other questions you have.
Excellent. Thank you so much, CG. Like, we kept it at time, and I think that's a great opportunity. What you're saying with that deal, so 21 days is 31 days. So I highly recommend for those in the audience to check out the booth at Mello and ask more about it, how it could be a good fit for your company. Magic code. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I was gonna ask, like, how do they have more information?
Arissa will help you guys out.
Arissa will help
Guys
you
and
out.
gals. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So with that, if there are any questions or comments, please feel free to ask now. I know we went slightly over. I do want to, it's okay. We also started late too because of technical difficulties. So it's all good.
Damn those technical difficulties.
Yes. But I think right now, as you're saying, like in this climate, like the Great Resignation, as they're calling it now, like the tools like Mello is going to be pivotal in order to help shape, right, the talent experience.
Totally.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. I think with that, we do have to call it at an end. But thank you so much, CG, for everything. Thank you to the audience for participating, and take care. Enjoy the rest of your time.
Of course.
And we'll
Stay
see
mellow.
you, sponsors at the booth, networking session in the lounge. Thank you.